And I've talked to a lot of tax pros that technology is something that they're stepping into that can help automate and transform their practice. So are there any certain I'm trying to find the right word. Is there any guidance or there's a lot of fear. I guess I should say that. There's a lot of fear around accountants moving to the cloud.
There are.
Right? So what would your advice be to them as they embrace these new cloud technologies that will help automate and transform them into the next wave of the industry?
Well, I would say do your homework. That's the very first thing. When I started my practice, I had decided there would be no paper. So I didn't have any filing cabinets. I didn't even have a printer for a while because I forced myself to be paperless. I didn't have a big budget, and I had to piece things together. I couldn't go out and just buy, the big name vendors' suite of products. I didn't have $50,000 burning a hole in my pocket. So I went to small vendors and I pieced them, all of the components together. I had portals, I had hosting of software, I had signature documents, and transaction documents, and secure email. And there are so many good vendors out. In fact, if you just walk this conference right now, probably there are some awesome vendors out here today. But what I would say is do your homework, make sure that they've got the right data security protocols in place. NIST, if you're not familiar with NIST, the NIST, go check out their cybersecurity framework. It's got some really basic tips. And in fact, the IRS has a framework that they require tax practitioners to look at. I should say require. It's a guide, but it's really common sense.
Okay, good. Well, that's awesome. That's great advice. There's a few more questions that we want to get in here around. I know Jim's not here, but I always make sure I ask
Jim's questions?
Yeah, we got to get Jim's stuff in.
Sure.
Because he wants to know about states. So how are the states doing at adopting legislation to conform with the federal tax reform? Any light you can shed on that and how states are doing?
Right. So I'd say that it's really hard to give a blanket statement on that. I mean, they're coming around, they're working on it. The biggest thing that we're seeing right now are the states that I would say the issue really has to do with the real estate tax. So there's a cap now on the state and local tax deduction of $10,000. And the people that are in a really high tax state are very unhappy about this. So a response has been that many states have actively gone out and said, we're going to construct these programs where we're going to allow you to pay us your real property taxes as a charitable contribution. And then you'll take a deduction on that end. Yeah, as a charitable contribution. And so I think the profession is divided on whether they think that's a legitimate expense or not. So that's one area that's coming in. Anyone that's worked in tax knows that the states can be really slow to conform. We actually have a checklist at the AICPA tax section that my team developed just this year. It's a really short snapshot, and it actually will show you every state, like are they conforming, semi-conforming, somewhat conforming, and we keep that updated. That's something to come check out.
Yeah, well, maybe that's something I can get from you and we'll share out.
Yeah.
As a resource.
Definitely.
That is fantastic.
Yes.
But that was the last of Jim's question. Anything else around tax reform or anything you guys are doing, AICPA, that we want to make sure that our viewers know about?
Sure. I would just say that keep visiting the tax reform page, the Resource Center. Take advantage of all the free resources you can. The biggest thing I want to say to people is this is an opportunity. So yes, it's change, and yes, it's scary, especially for us, but use this as an impetus to motivate you to that next level, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So take this to show your value. It's being presented in the press as so incredibly complex, and it is.
It is. That's right. It is. There's no way around it.
That's right. So charge for it, own it, know your value, express your value, and go out there and get that new business.
Yep, I love that. Know your value, express your value. I think that's a great line there. That's it. That's all we've got for you today, Carrie. I know you've got a busy schedule.
Sure.
But I appreciate the time joining me today, talking a little bit about tax reform. But one thing you got to do before you go, you got to do the hashtag. Hashtag Tax Pro Talk.
Tax Pro Talk.
That's right. Good. Well, thanks for joining us again on Tax Pro Talk. Carrie, again, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.
This has been a blast this morning. And look for more from Tax Pro Talk here in the future. We'll see you guys next time.